Hey everybody, welcome to the second webinar. Today we're focusing on searches and data integrity. I'm just going to do a quick introduction and I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat. Just tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to hear that. So my name is Katie and I do not work for CCB. I actually work for a church in Lansing, Michigan, Trinity Church. I've been there over 10 years. And we have been with CCB for just over 5 years. We've been using their services. And in that time, just learned a lot about how to use the database effectively. And I just want to share that with you guys. So that's why we're doing these webinars. Just an opportunity to be able, I've had a lot of conversations with you. I've worked with churches on how to use their database effectively. For my church, I assist the CCB team by doing trainings for staff members and volunteers as well. So that is a little bit about me and love to hear where you guys are watching from. Good to have you guys back from Pennsylvania. That's great. Great to see you guys again. So let's dive in here. Get rid of this banner. And let's talk about searches and reports. So this can be a little overwhelming. So I'm going to try to break it down as simply as we can. So let's first just start by defining things. So first terms we've got are people search and classic search. Now, depending on how long you've been with CCB, you may remember the old search, which is now classic search, where that was how we ran all of our searches, was through classic search. Then I was trying to remember, and the pandemic kind of made time go weird. So I think it was before, I think it's been 2 years that they've created this people search, and they've been slowly migrating things over. And eventually, I would assume that classic search would go away. But there are still things that you can only do in classic search that you cannot do in people search. One is if you had previous save searches, those are still in classic search, although they are encouraging us to build them in the people search. And the second thing, which is the biggest, is you can only mass change data of profiles in classic search. So I'm going to show you how to do that, but that's the main reason why you would use classic search. Otherwise, you can pretty much do what you need to in people search. They're continuing to add features to it. Notice some things as I was prepping for this as well. So that's those. Then we have system reports and custom reports. So a different feature is reports. System reports are reports that CCB has made that have like tight parameters, and you're just picking like very specific information. There's almost no flexibility in how the report comes out and what it's pulling. But there are some good ones, which I'll go over the ones that we use the most. There are some that I've only run just to see what they do. I've never actually used them. So there are those reports as well. Then custom reports is kind of the sky's the limit. You can create a report however you need and get that data. Now, the number one question you get is, when do I use a search and when do I use a report? Now, I'm going to paint with a pretty broad brush because there's overlap, which we'll talk about. But painting with a broad brush, when you do a search is when you want to keep the data in CCB. So you want to add those people to a process queue. You want to add them to a group, an event. You want to send an email or a mail merge. The information's going out, but their data, the people's data, is staying in CCB. And then the other would be if you're wanting to change something, mass change their data in their profiles. So search is keeping data in CCB, and a report is you want to take it out. So you want to schedule that report to be sent to a group of people on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, or you want an Excel spreadsheet of the data, a CSV file if you're taking that list into an email service like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, one of those. Or you can have like a Google map and see like where people are located. That's pretty cool. I'll show you guys that. And so but you're taking the data out of the database. So all the names, all the information, you're taking it out of CCB. You don't want it to be kept in CCB. So those are the main differences. Now I just want to go over a couple of examples. So let me add this to the screen. Let's hop over here. So let's first uh, make a search. And at any point, please drop a question in the comments, and I'll either answer it right then, or at the end I'll do questions as well. We're going to go over searches, reports, and then I'm going to go over data integrity and data cleanup as well. So when you're creating a search, you first want to go to edit and see who will show up in the results. Now, it defaults to people matched in the search and active profiles. And pretty much you're always going to just keep it at this default. When you might want to change it and is when you want to send a communication or you're reaching out to parents of children or students. So then you would just check these boxes and you may not even want the students in that list. So I just want the primary contact in the family and the spouse in the family. Now, you're pretty much always going to just do active profiles. I don't really know why you would need to include deceased individuals unless you were running a search of like who are the people that passed away in the last year. You could do that. That might be an instance to use that. But the include child protective individuals is if you were running a search that just included kids. So our child protected age is 13 and under. So anyone 13 and under will not show up in a search unless this box is checked. So if you're running a search for search or report for kids or students, depending on the age that you have child protected at, you'll want to be sure that's checked because that's the number one culprit. If you're not getting the results you expect, is this box probably isn't checked. So for the search we're going to run though, the defaults are fine. So I'm just going to click apply. And then because I want to protect my own church family's data, I'm just going to run a silly search, one that I wouldn't actually run. But then I'll show you the criteria for searches that we do run, just not the results. So you can search a long list of things in people's profiles and how they're involved. It's a little overwhelming. So you can either scroll through or you can just type in what you're looking for. So I'm just going to do a search for names and then you just answer these questions. So they all have drop downs. I'm going to do a search for people with the last name Mouse. And that's all the search criteria I need. So I'm going to hit apply. And then it comes up. So with searches now, you can click this 4 columns right here. And you can add things from their profile that you want to see. So maybe you're doing a search about baptisms. And so you're like, I actually need to know their baptism information. So you would check that. And then that would show up on the search. Now, unfortunately, which I hope they're going to change this or add this, you can't add custom fields to these columns yet. So hopefully that's something they're going to add. But right now, it's just the basic profile information and the non-custom fields that you can add. So, but you can select which ones you want. These are fine for this fake search. And then you can see here. So one thing that's cool is you can click preview and up on the side will show. So you can just kind of, yep, okay, this does fit the search that I'm looking for. This is what I want. And then you can just X that out. And it's not going to a new page. So that's an important piece. From this, you can also go to actions. And you can see here, there's export list and print labels. So that would be an example of how searches and reports overlap. So from a search, you can export. This is a CSV file. You can't change it to an Excel file. Um, I mean, you can when you open it in Excel, but from here you can't. And then, but you can also from here, you can do add to a group, add to event, add to process, send an email, or send a mail merge. So send a mail merge is the mail merges. So you may have template emails that you're wanting to send out. Send an email is kind of like a message, but they've changed it and made it better. I was very happy to see this. So, subject of your email, your message attached, and then you can send yourself a copy and you can copy that email into profile notes. If you've been with CCB for a while, you know how exciting that is that you can do that. So then there is a record that the people got that email instead of just, I'm pretty sure they did. So that's a great addition. We appreciate that. So this is a cool thing you can do. And then you can always, so let's say this is a search that I want to run regularly. I really want to keep up with if the mouse family is going to keep like if what their involvement is. So I would go up here on the left and click save search. And then I would do mouse search. Save searches are also a great opportunity to use a naming convention. So if this was a part of my data cleanup, I could do the abbreviations DC, whatever fits. So naming conventions are just easier. I'm going to show you my list of save searches, and you'll see why I should have been using naming conventions from the beginning. So I'm going to hit save. And then you can see it brings up this new window because you can invite people to collaborate on this search. So they can see the information. They could change filters if you give them permissions to, all right here. So let's say I want Fred Flintstone. So Fred Flintstone can view it, he can edit it, or I'm going to make him an owner. So what this is, a lot of times, and this may be your case too, you may be the main CCB person, like the guru of CCB at your church. And so people ask you, hey, could you, I don't know how to make searches or a report, but I need this information. Could you help me? So I do this a lot. I'll make a report, but I don't need to own it. Like I'm just making it for them. And so then I would just make them an owner, and then they have full privileges to invite other people. They can invite their team, their volunteers, whoever needs that information. So you can do that here. All right. The other cool thing with people search is, let's say I go to I'll just go to our homepage. And so I did something, and then I'm going back to people, or maybe my window closed unexpectedly. It always defaults to the search that you last ran. So that came up. So let's say my computer crashes. Oh no, I lost that search. I can get it back right away. If you didn't save, even if you didn't save it, it doesn't have to be a save search for it to do that. It automatically defaults. So that's pretty cool. Let's look at save searches first. So here are my list of save searches, and you can see while I do have good names for them, so it's clear like this is my active attenders. These are crosswalk students who previously attended, not currently. So while I've named them clearly, they're just kind of all messed up. So I should have done like students colon and then had a description. That makes it cleaner and just makes it quicker as I'm going through. So then I don't have to use this search as often. So it's not a big deal right now because I don't have that many save searches, but let's jump over. Right now you can do view classic searches, and I'm going to click show all my save searches. So here are the searches that I've used, and you can see I have all my data audit ones. Those are all lined up and together. FGI, that's with our vision, it's a foreground initiative. And so you can see I have that here as well. So those are all together, but it just makes it so I can zero in. Okay, this is the task I'm doing, and it just saves a couple seconds. and a couple seconds adds up. So let's go back here. All right, so let's go into Classic Search and I'll show you how to mass change data. So in Classic Search, and we're just going to run. You can see this is not as easy. You do have to scroll through. You don't have that search feature that we have in People Search. And we don't have all of the same things. Well, that's interesting. So it would be the same thing of running data and then going through. There we go. It's first name, but I actually want last name. All right. So last name is Mouse, and I'm going to click search now. And then you can see it comes up. You can see we don't get to see any information. You can hover over it and see a preview of it. But if I click on the name, it will go to their profile and then I have to start over. So there's some improvements that they've made there. But over here on the right-hand side, it's all the same actions. So I don't need to do any of this stuff in Classic Search. I want to do this in People Search. You want to use People Search as much as you can. But the one thing you can't do is mass change data for these people. So I'm going to click that. Now you have access to all of the profiles information. So you can change any of this information, their address. I don't know why you would mass change the addresses. Mainly what you're going to do is custom fields or like membership types, or you could do privacy levels as well. I could see that being helpful. But how we use this the most is membership types and our custom field. So we use CCB. We use every single feature for VBS. And like maybe I'll do a webinar on that if that would be of interest to people. So we have two custom fields. Our parent pickup, so they put who can pick up the kid, and then notes. So either right after VBS or right before registration opens, depending on when we did it. You can X that out. And so information will be removed from all of those. So then when you do mass change, it's going to say, are you sure? Because you can't undo this. There's no control Z. You can't undo this. Yep, I'm sure. And so then that wipes that information from their profile. So that's an easy way to make those changes. But you also want to be careful with it because you are changing the data for anyone who is in this search. So that is why that's when you use Classic Search. All right, we're going to do a couple of examples of searches that I've had asked for, and then we'll move to reports. So this first search we're going to do, and this is how I go, this is my process for doing searches. So a ministry comes to me, a ministry this week came and said, I would like to know the students that attended Crosswalk. So that's our high school group. So the students that had attended Crosswalk, but they have not attended in the last 6 months. So they attended, let's say, from 2019 to 2021, the end of the school year last year, but we have not seen them this school year. So once I have that, so that's my target, I write on the piece of paper, okay, what's going to be my criteria? And it largely depends on how you have your database set up. That's where data cleanup and data maintenance is really going to come into play. So how we do this is I'm going to use attendance by attendance grouping. And we have our students all in one. And then you're just going to go through and start answering these questions. So I want the students who have attended. I'm going to do this a little quick and then I'll go back. So don't worry if you're like, whoa, this is too fast. And May. Okay. So in the range, and you can pick whichever one makes the most sense for what you're doing, but I use in the range the most probably. So in this range, they have attended, and I'm going to define attendance, And sometimes the ministry leader gives you this. The ministry leader just wanted to know, I just want to know if they came once and they haven't come back. So then you do this. And then because of the way our groups are set up, I am also going to add our crosswalk groups to this. So 10th grade. And then I'm going to duplicate this and swap this out for 12th. Duplicate it again. So these are all our crosswalk groups. So this is going to tell me anyone who attended once from 2019 to 2021 in our student groups. Except you may be saying, if you've done this, wait, she's got match all. So that means that every single one of these has to be true for a person to show up, which that's not going to happen, right? That's not possible. So I want to click this and make that any. I like that it's a different color, so that just kind of clues me in. Wait, this isn't quite right. So now we have, here are the people who have attended from 2019 2021. I want to create an additional filter set. Now stick with me. This is where searches can get a little confusing. But so now I want to add in, but now I want to know, so that's great. Anybody who attended 2019, 2021, but now I want to know their last attendance date is not in the last 6 months. Now you can do a specific date, but I tend to use the is not in the last 6 months or 1 year type of thing. So, and the ministry didn't have specifics. They didn't really care. So is not in the last 6 months. Now you could also add, because this is what this is going to do is this is going to pull, let's say Caitlin graduated last year. So she was active in our youth group. She graduated. So she's not attending crosswalk anymore. So we don't want her to be pulled. So you could do this a couple of ways. You can do this by age. So is younger than 18. So that'll pull people who are still college or still high school students because they're younger than 18. Or you could also do, and this is totally dependent on how your groups are set up. But we have a group that is called, it's our graduates group. So I want, I want the people who are not members of the graduate group and who are younger than 18, who have not attended in the last 6 months, but they used to attend they did attend in 2019 to 2021. So that will show me who attended 2019 to 2021 and is still in high school, but they have not attended this school year. If that did not make sense, you can ask a question. But the other piece is up here at the top, and I do this last. I mean, this is real time how I do this, because I do this equation last, where I want both set 1, so all of this, and this to be true. If I change this to or, then this could be true and this could be true. So it would be either or. It'd be picking, and it would basically pull all of our students, is what would happen. So I want to be sure that's and. It defaults to and. And then you can add like a, oops, there we go. You can add like a not. So if you want to get even more deep and complicated in it, but generally you can do most searches just with two sets. I'll give you another example, but this would be an example here. I'm gonna so you can screenshot it. So students attending, so by attendance grouping and then by specific group. And this is because within our group, sometimes we use different attendance groupings. We have a class one. So if a student attended a class, they might show up there. So we just want to be narrowed down, and we use the student attendance grouping in other groups as well. So we want to zero in just on crosswalk or just our high school group. And then let me scroll down here. And then all of these things have to be true for it to show up. So this is the attendance date is not in the last 6 months, age, and then group name. They don't show up in our graduates group. And once you feel like, yep, this is right, this is going to work, you hit apply, and then you check your list. I'm not going to run it, protect church families' data, but I did this yesterday. And the first time I did it, I was like, "Oh, that's not right," because I know that that student has been coming regularly. And so I had messed up one of these in the range kind of things. So then you tweak it, run it again. Yep, that makes sense. This is a expected number, and then you go from there. So that is how you run a little more complicated of a set search. Excuse me. And then when you're done, you can clear filters. So let's see what time it is. Yeah, we'll move on. I'll post in the group an example of how a search that you can run for active attenders, the search that we run. But I want to jump over to reports and then have time to talk about data cleanup and maintenance. And I want to respect your guys' time. So let's go to reports. So here are the reports. These are the system reports for events and attendance, and then you can do people, groups, and processes. So the ones that we run the most are with attendance. So attendance summaries, we run those a lot. The printable directory is nice. You can also run this out of a group. And then the member privileges one, this will come in super handy when you're doing data cleanup. So this is a very regular report that we run. Same for groups. So we're running the department summary for data cleanup and data audits, as well as these breakdowns and process summaries to see how are people using the process queues, what people aren't using process queues. It just gives you a quick snapshot. All right. Then we have custom reports. So all your custom reports are going to be here. We're going to create a report today that has to do, we have our children's ministry wants to send birthday cards to their volunteers. And this could be done as a process queue, but our children's ministry was like, we have a group of volunteers that are going to do this. They are not tech savvy. Please don't make us have them use process queues. Like, can we please just have an Excel spreadsheet? So then for sure. Yes, let's do that. So this is what this looks like. So we have all of our, we have all of our volunteer groups set as the group type of serve. And then also want to pull the department. So you can see this is a little harder because you've got to figure out exactly where everybody is at. All right. And next gen. And then birth month. And they want to do April and May was what they requested. So right now, how this search is set up is the group type has to be serve, the group department has to be next gen, their birth month has to be in April, and their birth month has to be in May. So this search or this report will not get any results. So you want to go over here and do advanced search. And then this is where we get more flexibility. You can immediately click advanced search. I didn't, just for learning purposes. And then here you go. I start at the bottom of the screen and work my way up. It's just easier. So first, with the search criteria, the sets are the things that go together. So these birth months go together, and the group type and department go together. Because we have group types in all of our departments that are serve groups, we want to be sure that we're using both of these search criterias. So then for set 1, both of these things have to be true. But for set 2, both of them are not true, so it's or. So they are in a serve group in our next gen department, and their birth month is in April or May. That's what this is telling us. Then we go up to our set formula, and I'm going to put in set 1 and set 2. So I want to be sure that the group type is serve in a next gen group, and their birth month is either April or May. So then this will pull all of our volunteers who have a birthday coming up in April or May. So then, yep, this is set. This looks good. Then I can go in and build my report. So what do I want that Excel document to look like? The different columns. So maybe I want to have their age in there, and I want to have their actual birth date. So then our people can just lock in, like, okay, these are the ones we need to do first, type of thing. And then because they're doing cards, I want to be sure to add their mailing address. And so I would add all of those things. I'm not going to do that just for time. And then I click next. Now, here is where that child protected children comes into play. So we do have volunteers who are teenagers. So most likely would be unchecking this for this one. I don't want to send cards to people who have passed away or inactive people, and unlisted people. They're unlisted for a reason, and we want to respect that. So I'm not going to include them either. And then, as it says here, usually you're never going to check return all family members. Rare occasion would you do this. So then I'm going to go to next, and then I'm going to do April. Actually, I'm going to put in my naming convention, right? So next gen, and do April, May, volunteer birthdays. You can add a description. It's up to you. Save and run. Now, I'm not going to fully run this just to save people's data. But then, so for some options, you may, for this birthday one, I wouldn't want show run one row per family because I want each person's birthday individual. But for some reports, you are going to want to run that. And then you have the option, do I want to see these results on screen first, or just go right to an Excel or CSV file, mail merge data? I have never used that. And then Google Map, which I am going to run this because it doesn't actually show people's data. So then if you have multiple campuses, we just have one campus. So that's the center. So Google Map, I'm going to hit run report. And then what happens is it gives you a report with the dots. So these are where everyone is located and their birthdays that have a birthday in April or May. So it's just kind of a cool, there we go. Just kind of a cool little option that you can do. You want to be sure when you run the report, if you're doing show on screen. I typically do show on screen first and then save report, just so I have it, all the criteria locked in. Here, let me run our mouse report and show you that real quick. So when you've run a report and you pick show on screen, this is what will show up. And then you can go over to actions and do save report. And I do that first. Like I want to be sure that this report is saved in my custom reports list. So I would save it, and then you can make changes to it and those will get saved as well. But I can print this. The print, if you've done this, it's super tiny. So I always just export it to Excel and then make it a bigger size font and all of that stuff. So you can do all those options right from here. And then if you're like, oh, wait, it shouldn't be this many people, or whoa, that's way too many people. I did this wrong. Click edit settings and then edit. And then that takes you back to the beginning. And most likely, it's something either in your set formula that might be wrong, something down here in these inner set conditions, and then, or it's this child protected box that needs to get checked. Another thing with the whole process is just talk through it. Like talk through it out loud. Have it written down what you're looking for, and then and if it makes sense, then give it a whirl and try. And if it doesn't, then you can go back. So that's how you do it. So glad that answered a burning question you had, Melissa. That's awesome. Love to hear that. All right, let's talk about data integrity because it's super exciting. No, maybe not. But it's super important because people give us their personal information and we want to honor that and connect with them well. One of the things that's my biggest pet peeve is when churches send a mail merge just using that default all church group that we all have and everybody is in it, because not all of your profiles need all of the information all the time. So having good membership types, having good groups, and having all of those with high data integrity or accuracy increases the chances that you're going to connect with people where they are and get them the information that they need. So it first starts with a data audit. And this is a bird's eye view of how are you using your database right now. So each of the different features, taking a look at the whole picture, your whole use of your database. Now, I've created a data audit worksheet. It's a 25-page document and a spreadsheet. It's totally free. I dropped the link in the chat. It'll also be in your follow-up email as well. And this walks you through each feature of the database, has you run specific searches, answer specific questions, and then helps you put together an action plan for addressing the areas that come up that are trouble areas or you need to focus on. But this is your first step in data cleanup and data integrity. You've got to know what you're working with, right? So you want to be sure to get that. And then let's move into data cleanup. So once you're at a good spot in your data maintenance and you're like, okay, we've gotten rid of the 1,000 duplicate records, we've merged them or ignored them, whichever was appropriate. We have updated our membership types, our custom fields, our groups are accurate now. Now let's move into maintenance mode. And you want to answer these questions of what are the tasks that staffs and leaders can do on a daily basis and you expect them to do? What are the tasks that the CCB team can do, or maybe that's you, or a collection of staff that can do this on a monthly basis, twice a year, and then once a year. So you're just asking each of these questions. So I'm going to give you an examples of what we do, or at least try to do. So we're not trying to, it's not about the perfection. It's just about getting that 1% better. So day to day, we expect that our people are looking for errors. So if they go to a database and they're like, oh, this person actually got married, their spouse isn't in here, or their spouse is somewhere else in the database. These need to be combined, or, oh, I know this person moved. We need to update their address. So we have empowered our staff to make those changes. Also to add that note that they've made that change in their profile. And then if they're not sure, they ask somebody. So it may be like, I'm pretty sure they moved. Maybe they didn't. And so you're checking either with them directly if you have a relationship with them, or with another ministry leader. Merging duplicates, we do that on a consistent basis. Not all staff members do that though. It's just me and somebody else. So, and then matching forms. So if they're a form manager, they're responsible for managing that form, matching their form requests, responses, excuse me. And if they are a process queue manager or a process manager, we expect that they are moving people through their processes. So that is the day-to-day expectation. Monthly, we ask our ministries to review their group participants. So for volunteers, their volunteer groups, that they're looking through that list and saying like, oh, they're not serving on our team anymore. This also is an opportunity to be like, hey, where did Bill go? Like, I have not talked to him in a while. I'm gonna, I can send him a message, or I can send him a text, or give him a call. So it's really an opportunity to reconnect and re-engage with the people that are drifting away. Um, Also, inactivating forms that are no longer needed. We do set our forms to expire automatically for the most part, but we also like to just keep them archived just to keep that list clean. Um, and the guest connection process. So, what is the process for moving someone from guest to attender? Those are two membership types that we have, and we have a process and criteria, like triggers or tripwires, that then a person can move from guest to being an attender. Quarterly, we have our children's ministry run what we call an orphan children report. Um, and it's not meant to be not sensitive to that, but children who are like primary in their family. So they maybe, when adding an event, they registered and their profile got separated from the rest of their household. There's a variety of things. It's mostly happens with our students because their parents don't attend our church, but their students attend our youth group. And so we just want to make sure that we're reuniting those families, and then getting parent information if we don't have it. Also, quarterly, we do participant specific to attender report. So, participant specific is another membership type that we have that I talked about last time, of people who don't attend our church, but they are involved in workshop, class, community. We have Celebrate Recovery and like a Big Moms ministry, as well as our VBS is pretty big as well. And so we have people that just attend those events or communities. So we call them participant specific. But sometimes they attend those things and then they become attenders for our church. So quarterly, we run a report that's still accurate. And we do it the other direction too. Do we have attenders that are now not attending regularly? So it goes both ways. Semi-annual or annually, so twice a year, we do what is called a connection month. We do not take attendance by name every week. So we count heads in our auditorium. Our children's and student ministries, those we do by name, but we do not we do not take attendance for adults by name. So twice a year, we do what's called a connection month, where every week we hand them a sheet of paper, or we send out the connection form in CCB to get updated contact information. We ask our vision questions, like, are they in a disciple making relationship with our values? Like, are they experiencing more freedom and fruit in their life? Are they experiencing deep and wide relationships? So all those questions, whatever you need to ask. And we do that twice a year to get that updated information. We also discover, like, sometimes we'll do a mailing. We typically only do that once a year. where we mail things out, and then that gives us response back of, hey, I don't attend your church anymore. So then we can update our list. Twice a year, we also review admin privileges. So that admin privilege report. And that is something we do twice a year, unless this past year we did a restructure. So a lot of people changed roles, people left, new people came on staff, and we needed to run that right away. So that would be an instance where we do that. But we try to do that twice a year. Also want to evaluate groups, schedules, custom fields, membership types. Are these still the correct things? Are they clear? Does everyone understand them? And are they the right things? So maybe we need less, maybe we need more. You have to do that. Review system settings and privacy defaults and communication settings. So this is super important. There was a church that I did a data audit for a while ago, and I was looking through their system settings, and they had their wrong address. They had moved recently, and it was kind of deep in the system settings, but it shows up pretty easily for guests. And so I was like, hey, your what address is wrong? You want to change that? So those things are just kind of good to check through, because it may even be like there's like a thank you for giving type of message that you can change. And through the years, hopefully we're not the only church that changes language here and there. And so you just want to be sure that those things are accurate. So just going through them just once a year, you can do that. All right. Now, my biggest thing, I do leadership coaching, vision coaching, and now software coaching. And my biggest thing is it's not just about mental assent. It would hurt my heart if you just listened to this webinar and didn't apply what you learned. So every webinar will have action steps, and just encourage you to pick at least one and write it down, and then and then write a date that you will complete it by. And let's give ourselves reasonable expectations for when to get stuff done. Easter is just around the corner. So first action step, create a safe search. If you haven't done that before, create a safe search. That's the first thing I want you to do. If you have, then create a custom report and practice that. Think of a thing that you need a report for and create that custom report, and be sure to save it. Thirdly, let's complete the data audit worksheet. So you can download that and get started on that. And maybe you need to write up a schedule for data cleanup. So maybe take some of my examples and create one that works for your context and the time, like what month you're going to do certain things. And then lastly, consider hiring me to do your data audit. I would love to do that. And let me put this up. So while I'm going to go over what I offer with data audits, but I would love to hear if you have any questions. I'm just going to give you guys space to put any questions in the chat. So all right. So for the data audit, and this is included in your worksheet, I offer a full data audit where I run all the searches and reports. You'll receive a spreadsheet of all of the information, every report I ran, a summary of the findings, recommendations, and a full action plan for data cleanup and optimizing the utilization of your database. You'll get all the printed materials, and then I will do a presentation, our explanation of the audit. And then, because with the full data audit, I have to have full admin privileges to be able to do it. And we don't know each other. You may want to do the data analysis. I have done the full data audit for a number of churches, but I had a relationship with all of them. So there was that established trust. So don't want to be naive here. So data audit only, where you run all the searches, all the reports, you complete the questionnaires, and then you send me that information, and I'll go over everything, and I'll give you recommendations and an action plan for moving forward, and do an hour Zoom call to talk through it. There's also that option. So with both of these, the data audit is super important to complete. So you can do it yourself. That's also like that worksheet. I had people give feedback on it. You can go through that yourself. But I totally understand ministry is super busy, and we'd rather be building relationships with people and making disciples, than filling out, than running searches and all of that stuff. So I just want to help you guys and come alongside you. I realize smaller churches do not have a staff, that you may be wearing multiple hats, and I want to be sensitive to that and come alongside you as part of your CCB team and help you out in any way that I can. And also, if these prices are not, uh, if they're too high for your church, just email me. I genuinely want to help. So, um, doesn't look like anybody has any questions, and that is what I have for today. Um, I'm planning on doing a workshops multiple times a month. It'll probably be 2 times a month. I'll be putting in a poll in our Facebook group, just kind of asking what we should do next. I want to meet you guys where you're at and what would be helpful, and we'll go from there. So, yep. Oh, got a question. All right. Is there a way to see a saved classic search under people search? What I need to run? So, yes, you do have to rebuild the classic search and people search. So let me go over what that is. Yep. So let's say, yeah. So if you have one of these, in here, you do have to recreate it. They have said that they are going to be migrating all of the classic searches over to the new people search, but that was a couple years ago. So you do have to, unfortunately, recreate to get those columns. Yes. You can, though, however, from here, um, you can do create a new report from this search and then get those columns. So if you do that over here on the right, and then, oops, okay, sorry, computer glitch there. Then you could add columns here. So that's kind of a workaround, but yeah, unfortunately, Tiffany, right now you can't. Hopefully they're going to migrate that over pretty quick. So, nope, multi-site's not an issue at all. It's a great question. Yeah, I have I'm a part of just a one campus church, but I have worked with a multi-site church before. It makes it a little more complicated, but yep, totally want to help with that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys spending your time with me this morning. And if you're watching the replay, I hope you got value out of this. I'll be sending the recording right after I end the broadcast. So I hope you have a great week. And that is great. Hold on. Let's end with this. Yeah. So Melissa is a volunteer, and I'm sure a lot of people are in this boat as well. And there are plenty of things that we can offer out to other people to help, because one person is not going to make this successful. It's too much. It's too many things. So um, we got to work together. That's where the Facebook group comes in handy. It's where I'd love to come alongside you as well. And we can get 1% better. I was getting ready for this. My vision for this was just, man, what if every church, there's 50 churches that signed up for this webinar. What if every church connected and engaged with their people 1% better? Like, could you imagine how the kingdom of God could expand and change with just connecting with churches, connecting, equipping, and engaging with their people 1% better? And the database is a way to do that. It is a tool that we can put to work to help us do that better with our people. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'll continue to do these webinars. I'm glad that been helpful. And you guys have my email, so reach out with questions. I'd love to help. So have a blessed week, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much.